How do I find it real fast?
What is going on, everyone? Happy Wednesday night to you and yours. Welcome to the All About the Birds Weekly Report. I am Chip at Chip for the Birds, joined by Johnny U9322, and Jeff Warner at Jeff Warner NFL. And tonight, joined by very special guest, AP NFL writer at Rob Maaddi on Twitter, host of Faith on the Field, former 97.5 host Rob Maaddi. Rob, what is going on, my friend? Welcome back.
Yo, what's up, fellas? I love the energy on a Wednesday night, man. I'm usually that fired up, but now kids got me waking up early for school. School starts out here in Florida like in August. It's horrible. I think it's child abuse what they do to these kids, making them go to school in August, and I'm just like dead tired by 9 o'clock at night. It's crazy.
I mean, I can feel for your pain because I'm a teacher, so I'm already back in the building. So I'm at this point up at 5:45, get my workout in, and then off to school for 8.5 hours. So
I envy you guys. I envy anybody who can get up early and be okay with it. I'm just so like, my whole life has revolved around sleeping in because I'm a sports writer, right?
Right.
And you're up late, you're going to games, and you come home and you wake up at 10 or whatever it is. And then I had kids, and that changed. Life changes dramatically, man.
Yeah, I think I became narcoleptic after my second one was born. I just didn't know I was all along. I didn't know. So listen, we're really excited to have you. We're going to ask you some questions because, you're tuned in to these Eagles, and we're only a couple days away. We're a couple weeks away from the start of the season. So we wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit about some things you've seen, some things you've heard, and trying to guide a fan base that is a little bit confused right now about how to feel about the upcoming season.
Well, I'm kind of confused about what to expect, and I think a lot of people are, right? You're looking at a team that should be in full rebuilding mode, yet in a division that lacks that stud team, that the Green Bay Packers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Kansas City Chiefs. It's wide open. That's not to say that the Eagles are going to be NFC East champions, but I don't see any reason why you don't go into December where at least you're in the mix. And last year, you had a losing team. If the Eagles didn't tank that last game, the Giants would have won a division at 6-10. So I'll make one bold prediction as we start the show, and that's the NFC East will have a winning team win the division this year. But by saying a winning team, 9-8, maybe 10-7 at best. I don't think anybody will be better than that.
Okay.
I like that prediction.
Yeah, definitely. Rob, of course, all eyes are going to be on, of course, the quarterback, Jalen Hurts. And just want your thoughts. Do you feel that he's ready to step in the fold, possibly be the franchise quarterback from what you have seen and heard from practice?
I don't take too much out of the preseason game, and there was a nice long pass that he missed on with Quez Watkins, but he had good command, and we know he has great leadership. He has all the intangibles. We hear that from going back to last year. Every offensive player on that team and defensive player too that you talk to about Jalen Hurts, they believe in Jalen. And I firmly believe that his teammates, they're not just saying that, they have believed in him since day one. And the question all along, guys, has been, does the front office believe in Jalen? Does management believe in Jalen Hurts? And that's indicated that they don't necessarily by the fact that they explored other options. Doesn't mean they're wrong in exploring other options. I don't have a problem with a team trying to get better, and they looked into what else they could do. Ultimately, they decided Jalen Hurts is going to go into this year as the starting quarterback, and that's what I wanted to see out of this team all along. I feel you invested a second-round pick in Jalen Hurts last year. It kind of led to the disintegration of your franchise quarterback in Carson Wentz. He's gone. Doug Peterson's gone. Let's find out about Jalen Hurts this year. I like what he brings to the table as far as the intangibles. I want to see what he can do on the field, if healthy, the entire season. I don't care if they go 5-12, 3-14, or 7-10, whatever it may be. I want to find out about Jalen Hurts this year. And to me, that's the number one priority for the Eagles in 2021. And I'm willing to bet, me personally, I'm willing to bet on Jalen that he can be that guy. But he's got a lot to prove. And based on what we've seen, inconsistency right now in training camp, inconsistency in those joint practices, although he got the better end of some of them, there's some throws he misses, but that's to be expected. He's a young quarterback in a new system again. It's his fourth system in 4 years, and that's to be expected. So you got a quarterback guru or offensive-minded coach in Nick Sirianni. Let's see what Jalen Hurts can do this year.
What do you feel with Hurts and his leadership qualities and what he brings to a locker room and what he can kind of, for a young guy, he's not a veteran, but his charisma and his motto and, what he brings, he kind of feels like, a veteran in that room. How do you take those aspects?
Johnny, that's a great point because he is a young guy, but for a young guy to be able to command that kind of respect in a locker room, to be able to get guys to rally around him and truly believe in him. Like when Jason Kelce speaks, I want to listen. I believe with Jason Kelce. Like Jason Kelce's not the guy who's going to feed you garbage, right? When you got Lane Johnson who believes in you, when you have veteran guys who've played with various numbers of quarterbacks, who played with Carson, won a Super Bowl with Nick, and they were with Sam Bradford before that, and Mark Sanchez, and some of those guys with Michael Vick, and you go back, and when they look at and respect a guy like Jalen Hurts, you can't help but respect him from afar, from outside, and believe in the guy he is, the character that he has, the poise that he has, and all of that to me is like maturity beyond his years because he's a second-year quarterback right now, and guys felt that way about him last year, and that's a tremendous asset to have. Now he's got to go out there and do it on the field. He's got to be able to hit the throws, make the reads, and all of that stuff. But when you can have all these guys behind you off the field, when you can have that locker room behind you, that speaks volumes to where he is right now as a young kid in the NFL.
I think the one thing you're saying that's really important is, this does need to be a chance to – you have to see what Jalen Hurts has. And all offseason, as Philadelphia Eagles fans tend to do, is they're looking for the next best thing. So we see it with the Jalen Hurts versus the Watson conversation, but you're also seeing it with guys like, Dillard and Barnett and Ertz and so what are your thoughts on basically trading away some of these guys that we invested in? I mean, my big one I've kind of been saying a lot is, Dillard, in my opinion, I would be okay with sending him before too much more tape gets on him that he is not necessarily up to snuff of a first-round pick. But what are your thoughts on trading some of these young guys rather than developing them?
I got stuck in when you said looking for the next best thing, and everything, as I said to you guys before we even started the show that I'm going through, it just reminds me of my wife looking for, we walk into a brand new house, let's remodel it. Hey, let's go bigger and better. Like always looking for the next best thing. Eagles fans and my wife have something in common. She can't hear me right now, so I'm glad because she's gonna throw.
It's fine. This isn't broadcasted anywhere, so it's fine.
I didn't just share it on every platform that you guys shared it out on. So, but as far as the next best thing let's start with the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
I can understand that, right? From the perspective of Jalen Hurts last year was 1-3 as a starter. He's unproven. you're going to be interested in anything else that's out there. Now, I wanted to see them keep Jalen and give him an opportunity, and it looks like they're doing that right now.
Right.
And that's what I personally wanted to see. But I can't really fault anyone or say it's foolish to have looked at possibilities and whether the possibilities were the big name guys that we thought may be available. I never thought Aaron Rodgers was going anywhere, and he didn't. I never thought Russell Wilson was going to go anywhere, and he didn't. Deshaun Watson's situation, he would have gone somewhere if not for all that off the field stuff that he's dealing with. And I take that seriously to the point where I'm not exploring that at all. And I don't really believe when you hear all this talk about the Eagles pursuing Deshaun Watson, I don't necessarily believe that the Eagles are fully in the mix for Deshaun. I don't think anybody's going to make a deal for him right now until you find out what's going to happen with him, suspension and all that stuff. But again, I can't fault people for saying, hey, Jalen's unproven. He was a second-round pick. He wasn't a top 5, top 10, whatever it is. What else is out there? Can they do this? Can they do that? Now they got 2 first-round picks, maybe a third. What can they flip that for next year? But I say, hey, let's wait. Let's see what Jalen can do. You mentioned Andre Dillard. Well, when I look at a guy like Andre Dillard, and I thought it was very interesting today, but not surprising, guys, that Nick Sirianni touched on when asked about Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard. He wasn't committing to Jordan Mailata just yet. I get it. I understand that. And to me, this is going to be telling. If the Eagles end up with Andre Dillard as their starting left tackle week 1, that's not a coaching decision. That's coming from upstairs. It cannot be a coaching decision. When Andre Dillard, when out there, when healthy, has struggled the way he has in camp, by all accounts, right? By all accounts, he's struggled. He may have shined in a 1 play here, 2 plays there, and Jordan Mailata has put on film last year, right? He put more on film last year than Andre did 2 years ago as a rookie, and Andre was out all last year. If he goes into the season, Dillard as a start, that's a Howie move because he drafted him as a first-round pick a couple years ago. So that's going to speak volumes. But I understood that Nick Sirianni wasn't going to say anything about that, but I thought it was interesting that he left it out there the way it was. But that when it comes down to Andre, at this point, I still don't want to give up on him. And I said this a couple times to different people when I did various interviews over the weekend. I'm not giving up on a guy who was a first-round pick 2 years ago because at this point you got no trade value. At best, what are you going to get? A 6th-round pick for him? What good is that right now? I'd rather Jeff Stoutland get an opportunity to be out there with this guy for a full year. He was hurt last year. Give me a full year. I know you had him for his rookie year. Give me another full season with Jeff Stoutland. And if he can't make anything out of Andre Dillard, then you give up on him after that.
Right. Yeah. And next question. Look, all we hear about on Twitter, social media right now is these joint practices and how well that the Eagles have been doing in these practices. But then, of course, last week when they dominated New England Patriots, it came to the preseason game and we lost 35-0. Of course, they held out Jalen Hurts. The first team offense only got 10 snaps in week 1. And with the one less preseason game now, it just brings up a little bit of a not controversy, but a little bit, hey, what is Nick Sirianni going to do in this third preseason game since it's the final dress rehearsal for the regular season with it being over a little 2.5 weeks away? So I just want your thoughts on, do you feel that we need our first team to get some significant playing time in this week's game? Or do you feel that it should be limited snaps and not try to risk injury, especially since it's the last game before the start of the season?
First off, Jeff, I think the Eagles are the champions of joint practice. There should be some sort of recognition for that. Maybe come up with some kind of an award for that, a trophy, right? Not a Vince Lombardi trophy, but I don't know. Like maybe the Buddy Ryan Award, because Buddy was always good in a regular season but never won a playoff game. So and I love Buddy. Like Buddy's picture's up on my wall. It's the only Eagle represented here in my office is Buddy Ryan. But the joint practices are very valuable in that whether you win them, you lose them, however it is, I think they're very valuable because that is an opportunity for Nick Sirianni, the entire coaching staff, to see what this team can do against another team where you're not
Right.
holding back as much. You don't get anything in a preseason game. It's totally vanilla. It's basic. It's simple. You don't want to put it on film. You don't want to put it on tape. The joint practices are not filmed for other people to see. Only the two teams can see them. They're not sharing out that information. I know fans are there. Fans are taking videos. You can post them on social media all you want, but you're not breaking them down like Bill Belichick is or something along those lines. So you're able to evaluate your guys better in those joint practices than you do in the preseason game. So based on how hard they went in those joint practices, I'd be surprised, guys, if we saw any of the starters out there in this third preseason game. And I'll be honest, I'm okay with it. They didn't even play preseason last year. They didn't play at all. So right now, you're ahead of where you were last year in that you played a little bit of preseason, but you also didn't have joint practices last year. Now you had 2 weeks, 4 joint practices. I think they're better equipped to handle the start of the season than they were last year. I know a lot of teams around the NFL are now going to be viewing September as kind of the new August because of shortened preseason. You don't show much in these games anymore. Hardly anybody goes out there and plays. And to me, it's understandable. Now, the old school guys, right? Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, some of these older school guys, and I hear a lot of retired coaches or coaches who are now in broadcasting talk about the importance of these preseason games. It's a different mentality. It's a different era. I know Bill Belichick in the past has talked about, like, you can't be afraid that someone's going to get injured. If they need the reps, they need the reps. And if you're coaching fearful of injury, bad things are going to happen. So I understand that school of thinking. I get it. And who am I to argue against what Bill says, right? He's a 6-time Super Bowl champion, one of the greatest of all time. So if it works for him, that's fine. That said, I'm okay with holding out Jalen Hurts. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with holding out. I don't need to see Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, Jason Kelsey out there. I don't want those guys to get hurt. I am fearful of injury. I know coaches can't coach that way, but me personally, I look at that and go, well, you know, what's 2 series going to do? Get those 2 series into joint practices and be healthy for week 1.
Quick follow-up question. Sorry to cut you off, Johnny, real quick. But do you feel that these joint practices are the new future of the NFL and possibly can eliminate these preseason games? Because it seems like these preseason games are, like you said, they're meaningless. No one plays their starters anymore. The NFL is still charging full price for these tickets. So why don't they try to transition these to add more, maybe 18 to a 20-game season and give us some more meaningful football? Do you think that's where the direction is kind of going?
I think the joint practices will continue to be emphasized, and you'll see teams having 2 sets of 2 weeks of joint practices. But Jeff, guys, the preseason games aren't going to go away because of money. They're just not going to go away.
Exactly.
NFL owners have gotten away with, for so many years, charging full prices for preseason games where the backup fans go. You know, guys don't want to go to a game. They give them away to people who've never been to a game before. And it's an opportunity for, whether it's kids, whoever it may be, go to a game and enjoy experience, even though you're not seeing any of the starters play. So I don't think the preseason games will ever go away. You can't cut them down to 2 and then add an extra game. Not be the CBA already. We got a lengthy 8-9 years left on the CBA. So they're not going to be able to do that at this point. It always comes down to dollars and cents, but I think you're going to see continued emphasis going forward on these joint practices, and rightfully so, because if that's going to be the best opportunity for guys to evaluate their talent, their players, their bubble guys, or their starters, you got to do them.
So, though you mentioned Sirianni and, you know, these joint practices and a lot of this, you know, being good for Sirianni and the coaching staff. Now, the coaching staff is super young. Except for Jeff Stoutland is the only elder statesman, if you want to say that. What are your thoughts on the young coaching staff and kind of what we've heard and what we've seen so far through this training camp and the joint practices and, of course, a couple preseason games?
Passionate guys, young guys who are relatable, guys who are good teachers. Been very impressed with the coordinators. And I said this a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago on my show when I was on The Fanatic. Brian Johnson, the quarterback's coach, is very impressive to me. That's a guy who I was able to sit in on the NFL Coaching Summit. They identify coaches minority candidates who are in the pipeline to be guys who should be out there, who can get these opportunities in the next 2, 3, 4 years. And you always hear about the Eric Bieniemys and guys like that. Well, Brian Johnson was not just invited to it, he was a presenter. So I got to sit in and watch him present, talking about the importance of all these different aspects of how he coaches quarterbacks. Guys, I came away from it like I was blown away. I was like, Jalen Hurts is in a great position right now with a quarterbacks coach who completely understands the position. I'm confident can teach him. They have that history together, right? And he's a guy who's looked upon around the league as a guy, a coach on the rise. So I think they got some talented young coaches who may not be here that long if they have any kind of success in the next 2 years, because that's what happens. Teams start cherry picking at your young coaches. And I know a lot of people are high on Jonathan Gannon as being a future head coach. Brian Johnson, to me, is somebody to really keep an eye on. If Jalen Hurts develops this year, and you've seen a lot of guys make that jump from QB coach to head coach. Andy Reid did that. And you no longer have to be coordinator to head coach. You can go right from there. If Jalen has a good year this year, I think Brian Johnson jumps right into that conversation next year.
Yeah. And that's kind of what happens with these younger coaches, these young coordinators. So speaking then about the other side of that, one of the elder players, again, talking about the offseason drama of it all. Ertz was going to be traded. Ertz hated it here. And now it looks like he's going to be here this season. So even without all the injuries to the tight end room, how is that relationship from everything you've heard? Are they still looking to trade him? I mean, I don't want Zach Ertz to go anywhere, and I've been saying for months I don't think he is. But I mean, what have you heard? On the ground level here?
Zach Ertz should have been a guy who retires as a Philadelphia Eagle for all he's meant to this organization.
Yes,
for the person he is, the character individual that he is, what he gives back to the community, his family moving from California to the Philly area to surround him, to work with the Ertz Family Foundation, all of them, everything that they do. This is like the kind of person that you want to model a player after. Works hard, goes out there, dedicated, sets a record for catches, wins a Super Bowl. You don't win that Super Bowl without him. And he wants to go out there, plays that game after against Dallas, right? The lacerated kidney or whatever it was, puts his health on the line. And I don't think he got the respect that he deserves from the organization. Even when things went sour, they have treated other guys in the past better than they've been more loyal to guys who've done less than Zach Ertz. You could have allowed him to release him early and allow him to pick his team. However, I'm pretty certain they didn't want him to end up in Indianapolis with Carson Wentz. So they held out and they hoped that they could get a high enough draft pick to make it happen. But because the relationship had publicly deteriorated to the point where teams are like, we're not going to give up a second or a third round pick or even a fourth because we believe that you're going to end up releasing him. And then Howie's like, well, I'm not going to release him. So he keeps him. It's not the end of the world for the Philadelphia Eagles with a rookie head coach and an unproven quarterback to have a talented potential, a few more years down the road, Hall of Famer in Zach Ertz at tight end. It's not the end of the world. So I would rather have him on the roster. But as far as what the relationship's like, the things that I've heard, people that I've talked to who are closer to the situation than most, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed in that relationship. But Zach is a guy who is high character guy who's going to honor his contract, who's going to come in here. He's not going to whine. He's not going to complain. He's not going to be a bad teammate. He's not going to alligator arm balls. He's going to go all out, and he's going to set an example, and he's going to be that guy. And they know that. And because they know that, they're able to take advantage of it.
So we have a couple questions here. The one of our listeners, Don, who's been the most impressive player for the Birds so far?
I guess the guy who's raising the most eyebrows is Quez Watkins. You look at what Quez has been able to do in practices and then translate it into a couple weeks ago in the first preseason game. I think there's reason to be excited about Quez Watkins because we know what the Eagles wide receiver core is like. We know that they've had issues there. And while I still think that Jalen Reagor can develop, and man, how about some of those tremendous catches? We all saw the highlights, right? Jalen Reagor made it, and Devontae just came back, and we know his ceiling as a 10th overall pick, Heisman Trophy winners high. But if they can develop Quez Watkins and he can be somebody who can whether it's start or be targeted enough to make a significant contribution, I think that he's lightning fast, right? He's got the speed. I think that's a guy who you can keep an eye on and be very excited about. Hey, who better than a former wide receiver and wide receivers coach to mentor and be that guy who can get Quez Watkins developed. And then even J-Jaw. Like, I never wanted to give up on him just yet. Even J-Jaw. Some guys will tell you, like, oh, he looked terrible in practice. Oh, he looked good in practice, right? We're not talent evaluators. Media is not talent evaluators. We can tell you some things, but we can't be the be-all, end-all as a talent evaluator. We're not scouts. We're just the media.
So, listen, we know you got to get going. You have some housework you got to get up and done. But before we let you go, we do, as a gift to our fans, what are your predictions for the 2021-2022 season? A big prediction, a record prediction. Give me the Rob Maaddi big prediction.
I started at 5 to 7 wins, and then I moved to 6 to 8 wins, and I've been closer to the 7 range. Things got to break right for this team to go into 8 or 9, and they can. But there's a lot of ifs. The offensive line's got to come back and be healthy and be dominant. If Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks can be the guys who they were 3 years ago, 2 years ago, when they're all pros on the right side, that's going to significantly help Jalen Hurts. As he develops, it's going to give him more confidence in the pocket. It's going to allow him more time to make his reads. It's going to help the running game. So I think if the offensive line is stable and healthy, that's going to help the Eagles get towards that 7, 8 win mark. If it's anything close to last year, a lot of turnover, a lot of injuries, they can struggle. They may have a hard time. The good news is they're in a division that is not going to have anybody running away with it, and there's going to be a lot of parity in this division. I think they can split with every team in the NFC East, and you're not going. If you do that, you get a couple other wins. You're right there at 6, 7, 5, or whatever it is. I don't think they're a postseason team. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't even think they're a year away from that yet. But there's some people out there who think they're a 2 or 3 win team, and I just don't see that. I don't see. They're not garbage. There's some talent on this team, and I think that the offensive line is going to determine whether they're on the higher end of 6 to 8 or the lower end.
All right. Well, Rob, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. Again, we have been joined this fine evening by Rob Maaddi, NFL AP reporter, host of Faith on the Field, former 97.5 The Fanatic host. Rob, you are always welcome with us. We appreciate you. We thank you for spending some time with us this fine evening. Make sure you check him out at Rob Maaddi.
But
thank
Chip,
you guys.
You forgot one thing. He's also a Freddie Galvis fanatic. You got to add that in there.
You guys know how I do. I always have my game on the side, and good things are happening in this quadrant. I'm not going to talk about it, but good things are happening right now.
Tell me Freddie did something. So I don't openly root for anybody in sports. Except Freddie. Just something. Freddie is my guy. Like I like Fred. It reminds me the way I played ball. Freddie is my guy. And Chip, shout out to you for the Birds of Prey back there. I appreciate that, man. You guys do tremendous work. Phenomenal videos. Everything you put out there gives me goosebumps. So, guys, appreciate you always. And now I got to go run in. I'm getting the Tampa Rays feed down here in Florida. So I don't know if Freddie got a standing ovation or not. They're not giving him the proper love that I know the Philly broadcasters are right now.
Well, like I said, we appreciate you. Good luck to you on the upcoming season with your big new gig. And, we'll be watching and listening, and your boy's at bat right now. So
I'm running out. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You got it.
So, man, Rob Maaddi, I love that guy. You want to talk about a guy who just knows his stuff, positivity, man. I love that guy.
No, great info, in depth. You gotta love it, and he's gonna give you what he hears. He's not gonna sugarcoat anything. So, awesome guest. Absolutely love it.
So listen, let's pay the bills midway, halfway point. Just let everybody know. Look, we have a lot of sponsors. We want to shout them out. We didn't do that with him on because we wanted to, value his time. So just so you are all aware, All About the Birds, we are sponsored by Statement Games. They are a fun, free twist on fantasy sports. Make sure you are checking out the link in the bio. OddsJam.com. You can use their arbitrage calculator to not lose money. Link in the bio. Of course, our AATBIRDS.com/shop. That's always full of great ideas and T-shirts and masks and hats and all kinds of good stuff. So make sure you are checking it out. 99jersey.com, partnered with AAT Birds. Use the code AATBirds20 for a 20% discount at checkout. Manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. AAT Birds, 20% off and free shipping at checkout. And our newest sponsor is La Terrain Luxury Watches. Use the code AAT Birds at checkout for 10% off. All right. Before we go any further, I want to talk about something that happened today, and we touched on it a little bit, but I want to vent for a second, if you gentlemen will allow me.
Well, usually Jeff vents, but go ahead. We'll let you.
You have the floor.
All right. We have talked over and over again about the idea of competition, right? And how Sirianni came in and said, competing. Everyone's competing. All the spots are open, competing. And then today, he bold-faced lies to us when asked about Andre Dillard and Jordan Mailata and said the phrase, Andre Dillard is having a really good camp. Nay, a really great camp, but for the injuries. Every video we've seen, every tweet we've seen, every report we've seen has been the very same phrase. Andre Dillard knocked flat on his ass. How could you as the coach, and again, I know the whole, poker face and maybe he's trade. I am not going to be lied to by another coach. Give it to us straight or don't talk to us. That's how I feel. Am I the only one in the room who was really annoyed by his intake, his output on Andre Dillard?
I get where you're coming from, but we also used to have a former head coach here in Andy Reid who always had his players' backs. And I kind of feel we're getting that type of mentality and that type of leadership from Sirianni as the head coach of this team, where he's not going to throw players under the bus. They might look shitty, they might look like crap on that field. Like today, Dillard got manhandled in one-on-one drills. And guys,
same guy too, a journeyman defensive lineman.
Jets. The Jets have nobody.
But they don't. I feel that they don't want to throw him under the bus and ruin his confidence and ruin his with Sirianni, that he's not his guy anymore, because you don't know if he's going to have to step in. What if Mailata gets hurt or gets banged up or has come out of the game for any reason? You want Andre Dillard to go out there in the confidence and for him to know that the head coach has the confidence in him to go out there and perform if called upon. So Sirianni didn't throw him under the bus.
But you use the phrase, one of his guys. Nobody on this team is a Sirianni guy. Sirianni absorbed a roster of a bunch of Peterson guys, so you can throw him out. He should be cut tomorrow.
Well, he's not the one in charge of the roster. So right now, all these guys are his guys because they're on his roster. So if he's going to be on the 53-man roster come week 1, he's Sirianni's guy because he's on the roster for him. So I understand your point. He didn't draft him. But who we don't know which head coach actually drafted who in this instance when it came to this roster anyway.
So the aspect with Andre Dillard and the way you have to look at it is, Jordan Mailata has performed well. We've seen it with our eyes in the game. We like Rob Maaddi said, we saw what he put on tape last year. And my thing with Dillard and the options behind Mailata, if he were to get hurt, the only thing is, if LaRaven Clark is healthy enough, then I think that I was so angry I left. It's okay. You're back. It's all right. But if LaRaven Clark is healthy enough, he's going to get you that probably number 2 left tackle spot, and you could see Dillard go. But the thing is, I don't know how healthy he is. And what else do you have? You get rid of Dillard. If LaRaven Clark's not healthy enough, you have Brett Toth. Are you going to slide Driscoll that way? Are you
Driscoll is a guy who played well last season at the tackle spot.
I understand that, or are you gonna keep Matt Pryor? So
no,
I'm
go out and get a guy.
I'm giving you probably a little bit what they may be thinking.
I know,
but if it's like Jeff said, if it's a Howie, they always, no matter who it was, if they drafted him, they tried to give them as much time as possible. JJ Arcega-Whiteside as an example. When you put the premium selections in these picks, in these players, you draft them high enough, you're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. You're going to be able to kind of ride with them for a few seasons, even if they're struggling. Because Dillard wasn't healthy last year. He was out the whole season. So this is essentially year number 2 for him. So my only thought is, if he doesn't make the roster, doesn't make the starting position, which in all our eyes, he's going to make the roster. He's going to be the backup. And it's going to be, just in case Mailata gets hurt, you have somebody behind him. And because if he was healthy last year, you wouldn't have had, you'd had Dillard and Mailata, and then you wouldn't have had Jason Peters come back and play 20 positions, get hurt, false starts, issues, and all that.
Let's not even talk about fucking Jason Peters, Mr. Selfish freaking SOB. The fact that he went in his press conference and said, the only reason I'm still playing to win a Super Bowl, you already have one, dude. You're almost 40 freaking years old.
But he didn't play in the Super Bowl.
Anymore.
He didn't play in the Super Bowl. And the reason I brought him up, because I know every time I kind of do, you go a little bit.
Got a ring, is what I'm saying.
Got a ring. But if I bring Jason Peters' name up, it gives Jeff a little fire. And I like to see that out of Jeff.
I love Jason. But
Jeff,
he was a guy that was a human turnstile last year, or through most of his career. The only reason why he gets the credit that he did, because he was durable, he was out there performing, and he pretty much related to the fan base, and he became a Philly guy. And nothing against JP, he's going to be a future Hall of Famer, but I kind of feel a lot of Eagles fans gave him a pass before last season throughout his career. So that's my only thing about JP.
I was
one of those guys that gave him a pass, and that last year he was very bad. He was awful.
Listen, Jason Peters, like you said, is a potential Hall of Famer. However, the longer he plays, the less likely that's going to happen. He is. Look, I put a tweet about this where he's doing what Favre did, where he was playing for so long and it was on such a decline, where all of a sudden you have to go, well, he was a Hall of Famer, first ballot for sure. Is he anymore? Look, he's now going out to Chicago, where you know what happens? It gets cold, and old man brittle bones don't do so well in the cold. So I can't look. I wish him well. I hope he does well, but I don't think that he's not gonna finish the season.
It's not like they're a Super Bowl contending team. They're starting with a new quarterback with Justin freaking Fields, which you don't even know he's gonna be the starter week 1. Yeah, they might have a decent defense, but that's about it. There's a reason why they're a crappy football team last year.
So to kind of switch it over to things, talk about the practices, what we're seeing with this week with the Eagles and the Jets. Anything that you guys have heard or seen that maybe lifts your spirits a little bit, because the preseason game against the Patriots didn't really lift anything.
Fucking practice. Like freaking Ryan said, we're talking about practice, not the game, but practice. The old Iverson quote. Look, I understand where Rob was coming from, and we'll get to our poll question in a little bit, but practice is one thing. Joe Flacco, a guy that's a former Super Bowl winning quarterback, came out after the game last week or in practice. I can't remember what day, but even said it's a different mode when it comes to these practices and live game action. And ultimately, yeah, we can perform well in practice against other teams. And granted, it was against the freaking New York Jets, which are a dumpster fire almost as much as dumpster fire in the NFL as they could be. But I want to see performance on that field. I want to see production. I want to see some type of hope going into this season, especially for an offense that hasn't even played completely together. Remember, Devontae Smith didn't play the first week of the season. I want to see what Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith can do for our future of this offense. The defense last week didn't even play our front four. That's the reason why they got gashed almost 200 yards on the ground. So I want to go out. I hope Sirianni comes out tomorrow, whenever his press conference is, and says he's playing the starters some type of significance. I want to be a little bit more ease with 15 days away against the Atlanta Falcons on the road.
Look, here's what it comes down to. And I didn't get the chance to share my thoughts with you fine gentlemen about the last game because I was, on vacation and
riding roller coasters.
Exactly. Let me tell you something. I don't care if it's preseason or not. 35-0 is an abomination.
Yep.
It shows that you are not out there to compete. I don't care if you pulled your dancing quarterback 10 minutes before game time. I don't care that nobody on your offensive line played. I don't care. Your team, practices or not, well, they competed hard in the joint practice. Practices or not, your team is not ready for this season.
Nope.
And the fact that we are looking at a sample size for Jalen Hurts, which is 4 games and almost no preseason time. How can you expect him, as Rob said, with a new offense, with a new – he played with Devonta Smith. He played with Devonta Smith 2 years ago. It's not like they were hanging out. You have to play the starters. You have to play the starters because they have got to get in some kind of game rhythm. Look, everybody gave Bill Belichick a lot of crap for challenging a play during the preseason. Why? He had to make sure that his booth guys were in regular season mode. They had to make sure that his systems were in regular season mode, that it got down quick enough that the refs were in regular season mode. You've got to check these things. You have got to check and see if Jalen Hurts is your guy. And yes, you have 17 games this season, but you still have a preseason game. Get him out there because it's the third game. It's a dress rehearsal game. The third game is always the dress rehearsal game. Stop with this baiting players. You have to get them ready for soft tissue injuries. That was the issue with Doug Peterson. They didn't practice very hard. So when they got to the full speed game, they got hurt. Not playing in any preseason games, they're going to get hurt. This is dumb. I think the best point was exactly this. I was just about to say this too. So great minds think alike. Jeff can attest to that, especially with But I think the depth is what you saw in this preseason game, and what you saw that if you look at this roster, and we knew it, we've said it. Maybe it's just we don't want to believe it, I guess, at some point. But when you lose 35-0, yeah, you're playing a lot of third, fourth teamers. Some second teamers are sprinkled in there as well. But the problem is, the NFL, you will have injuries. I don't care what team you are. I don't care. You're going to have injuries. It's the name of the game. It's what happens. And I think what you saw is you're going to see, and I mentioned it, the Eagles are going to be active on the waiver wire to try to get some type of depth because they're seeing what they have with this roster. And there's a handful of players, maybe more than a handful of players that you just see and they don't belong on the field. And it's evident. And it sucks because you want these guys that, the offensive line and the defensive line and, Hurts and these receivers and the tight ends. And you're thinking, okay, they can give. The thing is, not everyone's going to stay healthy. And the depth behind everybody is pretty thin. It's razor thin. So they're definitely going to have to be active because you're going to have big time problems come the season when you have a few injuries happen. Look, you're going to have injuries. We don't know. So I think my other thing is this. You have a very loaded wide receiver room. And I say loaded by numbers, not necessarily by quality. So loaded with numbers. You have a very loaded tight end room. You have a very loaded running back room. So you have these offensive weapons. Are you getting a real look at these guys with Joe Flacco and Nick Mullins throwing them the ball?
Nope.
Are you getting an accurate look at what they're doing? When they're overthrowing them horrifically, there was a photo today that the Jets, or a video that the Jets posted where Flacco went back and just went flip, and it got picked off. There wasn't an eagle around. Joe Flacco is not a capable NFL quarterback anymore. Nick Mullins isn't capable of bagging an NFL player's bags at a grocery store. If it's not Jalen Hurts, it is nobody. So how can you judge accurately these position skill players when it's anybody besides Jalen Hurts throwing them a ball in game situations? And even then, Jalen Hurts is not an accurate quarterback.'s not a strong arm quarterback, but he is a leader. Can he lead them to do better? Can he lead them to do great things?
I think the strong arm concept and what you keep saying, I think it's a little misleading in terms of he's not a strong. Just because you have a strong arm doesn't make you a good quarterback. Paxton Lynch was the first round draft pick.
Jameis Winston has a strong arm. You're right. But he's also not accurate.
He was accurate in
So
college.
you can't have a weak arm and inaccuracies.
4
And you're
games.
Nick Mullins.
We also have to remember. Look, we haven't seen Nick Sirianni's offense.
Exactly.
We do not know what he has up his sleeve. Him and Steichen, the offensive coordinator. Because look, they don't want their game plan out there on tape. So I get it. Like, they're not going out there executing the game plan. It's basically almost like a game of pickup football. They'll call some simple plays here and there, simple passing routes, all that type of stuff. So we're not seeing the full blown offense and all that, but I still want to see our number one offense all together as a unit, and I want to see what they can do. Because right now, the first team offense without Devontae Smith, they got 7 points, 10 points, whatever it was that week 1 against the Steelers before they pulled them out after 2 series, and that was only 3 points. Yeah, because the first touchdown was the Quez Watkins from Joe Flacco. Yeah. So look, we need to see more from an offense, especially since we don't know what we have with Jalen Hurts as a quarterback. We really haven't seen much of Devontae Smith since he's been injured most of preseason. We need to see we need to see a little bit more of Nick Sirianni if he can be the guy as the head coach and the leader of this team going forward. So I understand you're not going to figure this out or solve all this in preseason or for the start of the season, but as a fan, you're a little bit on edge right now going week 1 on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. Granted, the Atlanta Falcons were a bad football team last year, but they've been working with each other. They still have Matt Ryan. They get Kyle Pitts. So it's not going to be a cakewalk.
That's my point. This is not – look, I was on NFL.com today, and they did a ranking of the conference – or of the divisions, right? And obviously the NFC East was last. We know – I mean, that's without question.
We know
and
that.
they said again, it's going to take, 7 wins to win the division again. We know that. The only thing that the entire article said about the Philadelphia Eagles is that they're in contention to be the worst team in the NFL. And nothing that has happened this offseason, this preseason, with the exception of drafting Devonta Smith, has led me to see why they wouldn't be.
Yep. Unless Jalen Hurts balls out and becomes Offensive Player of the Year or potential MVP candidate. Like I keep on saying, this season, this team is going to live and ride and die with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. If Jalen Hurts can live up to the quarterback potential that they feel that this organization or the organization feels he can do, then we might be a better football team. Because honestly, we do have some talent. I would say we have a strong offensive line, a strong defensive front. Devontae Smith has the potential to be a superstar. Maybe with the right offense, we see more of Jalen Reagor. We saw the best tight end combination in the NFL, arguably, right now. So offensively, we have some components besides the unknown of the quarterback and the head coach.
All right, so listen. Well, Johnny, finish your point, and then we'll talk about the preseason game.
Before we talk about the preseason game, I want one prediction. So we're not going to be – our next episode – will be after the cut down day. Do you have any surprise cut? Someone that people don't think is going to be cut, that you're going to say, you know what, he's not going to be on the roster. It could be a cut or a trade. I'll add that. And no,
Jeff,
you say Dillard or Jordan Howard.
Jordan Howard's making this team. Jordan Howard is making this team.
Yeah. I don't know if there's really a surprise. The only thing I can think maybe – maybe they move on from Avonte Maddox or something. I don't know. Like, honestly, there's really that cornerback room's kind of crowded right now. They have Slay, they bring in Steven Nelson. Zach McPherson, I feel they're very highly on. So honestly,
how about this? We'll throw this because it's hard for a cut. So we'll say instead of a cut, we'll say somebody making the roster that people think are just going to get cut, because that may be a little bit easier than actually saying who's going to get cut when you or a surprise cut when you really don't see too many. A surprise making the roster is a little bit different because there's some players, he won't be on the roster, and he makes the team, like an undrafted player, something like that. That may be a little bit easier in terms of saying that happens than a surprise cut.
I feel I mean, we know like the Nick Mullins is they're gone. I would be shocked if somehow he makes.
I was about to
team.
say, if you say Nick Mullins going to make the team, I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to come down there, and
I would be
defensively.
irate, furious, and shocked if he somehow made the team. I think as you look, I mean, Michael Jacquet needs to be cut already. I don't know how he's still on this team. There's a lot of guys that I don't know how they've even survived this long, why they would allow them to take the ride. But one for me that I think could be cut is Ryan Kerrigan. He's got, listen, he hasn't been on the field. He's got no tape on him. You've now seen at DN with having Sweat and Barnett, you've got the other side locked down a lot. Why keep a guy like Ryan Kerrigan? Look, I think that he was a stud. We don't know what he still has left in the tank. I would not be, and now with Milton Williams also showing, what he brings to the table. So there's your young player development. I would not be surprised to see Ryan Kerrigan cut.
I still think
I'm also not surprised to see him make the team.
I still kind of think they're going to keep at least 4 defensive ends. So I'll say Milton Williams are mainly having him as a defensive tackle, at least in the depth chart. So, of course, they'll move him around and put him at defensive end in certain packages. But I feel Ryan Kerrigan, you don't really need much game tape from him from a coaching standpoint. He's a 9-year veteran. He has a lot of wear and tear already on his body. He really doesn't need to be out there like Maaddi said. You'll need to really see the Lane Johnsons and some of these aging veterans and wear more tear on them. So I still think they keep Kerrigan, especially since he's not a high number right now. So they get a depth guy that had a very productive season last year with Washington in a limited role. I still feel he brings something to the table for your defense.
Right. The only reason why I said Milton Williams over him is because Milton Williams has not played a lot at D tackle this preseason. No. He's played almost exclusively DN. So if you do keep 4 DNs, you've got them with Milton Williams and then Sweat, Barnett, and Graham. What you may see is a cut of a guy like Kerrigan and then a pickup, a signing of a veteran D tackle, because the backup, look, we know that our D tackles in Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave are superior, but T.Y. McGill and Hassan Ridgeway ain't it.
The issue with Ridgeway is he's never healthy. That's the problem.
Ever.
So when you're unavailable, you really can't help the team. I'll give you a cut and a surprise make. A surprising cut I could possibly see. I'm only going to say because of injury is Jannard Avery. I know he's having a really good camp, but the injuries, it's just like I said with Ridgeway. If you're unavailable, you're not helping. Because I know Patrick Johnson has shown some flashes. They like what they see from him. But another guy I was going to say as a surprise cut would be Andrew Adams because of the safety. If you keep Rodney McLeod, you don't put him on the PUP list, which I think I was talking to you, Jeff, about. We were talking about that if he's only 2 weeks out, they're not going to put him on the PUP list and waste all that time when he could be on the field for them. But one surprise make, and I've said it, it's not really a surprise because the guy's a veteran, is LaRaven Clark. If he's healthy enough, I think he stays because of his versatility. Can play both tackle positions. He can slide into the guard if you really need him to. But he's a veteran, offensive tackle that, it's a valuable position, especially on the offensive line, especially on an offensive line last year that we had how many rotations, how many starting lineups that you can never have too many veterans, quality veterans, not Jermone Brown type veterans. But those are 2 that I have, or 3. I gave 3, not 2. But
man, way to be like all overachieving and such,
right?
All right, so look,
wouldn't call it that.
We have a preseason game on Friday. I don't think it's worth it to give score predictions because I don't think it's worth it to give wins or loss predictions. What do you want to see? I guess it's preseason. I want to see them get out of there healthy, but I want to see them go out there and compete. The starters go out and compete.
Yeah, the number one goal, like you said, is go out, make sure that you walk out of this game healthy. And so far, most part this preseason, we haven't had many serious injuries to our players or key participants on our roster. So, knock on wood, that continues this Friday. But I keep on saying, I want to see our number one team out there for at least some time out there and build that continuity, build that chemistry, especially with our young quarterback and our wide receiving core, a new defensive scheme under Jonathan Gannon. Even though we might be playing against inferior competition, who freaking cares? I don't, like you said, the score doesn't matter, the results don't matter, but that's kind of you build that chemistry, and that's a confidence boost. Whether these are still NFL players, it might not be starter NFL players, but these are still guys that have made their way into the league. And if you can find a way to find success against another NFL team going into the regular season, I see that as a positive. So I want to see some type of progression and some type of performance and from our first team offense and defense.
Right.
Yeah. I like, Jeff hit the points. He hit, most of what I was going to say, but, I'll go with you want to see some of these depth guys, boost up a little bit, get some confidence, be able to make some plays because they're going to be, counted on if there's an injury. So you want some of these second and third teamers to hopefully show you something. And a handful of them are going to land on the practice squad to keep developing. So it's basically my focus is, yeah, I'd like to see the number ones play. I don't really know if that's going to happen, but my basic thing is keep developing. That's basically on this game is to keep developing. Use this game, whatever players go to the practice squad or make the end of the roster, keep developing because that's going to be key this season.
They got to compete. I mean, look, you got in the last 6 quarters of preseason ball, you've gotten absolutely spanked.
Yep.
And that's being generous. You've been spanked. So I think even the guys, your Joe Flacco's and your Nick Mullins and your Toths and they got to come out ready to kill the New York Jets. You got to come out and kill the New York Jets. But it leads us to our poll question of the week. So would one of you gentlemen like to introduce the question? Because it's been what we've been talking about all night.
All right. So should the starters play significant time against the Jets? Now, it's not Thursday, it's Friday. I made that mistake.
Yeah, it's fine.
It is Friday.
Game's Friday, friends. Game's Friday.
So, yes, no. So 56% say yes, 44% say no.
So there's a split. And again, it's a Jeff Warner official poll because it's a 186 vote poll. We're going to need a sound effect for that. The every time it hits 100.
We'll make that work.
But yeah, 55.9% agree. We need to see the starters out there. We need to see more, especially now that we have the one less preseason game. I kind of feel that the NFL, they need to realize when they took away that preseason game, they're not taking away the 4th preseason game. They're taking away the 1st preseason game. So,
correct.
So we still need this. The last game is still the 3rd preseason game where you majority see your starters at least through the half, in my opinion. And I get it. You don't want to risk injury in meaningless football games, and the coaches feel they saw more from this team in these joint practices, like Rob mentioned, that they feel that you got to see them go up against other competition in a closed environment and a controlled environment where you're not going to risk injury or risk someone getting hurt, possibly more so in a preseason game. But like Flacco said, it's completely different playing in a preseason game and in practice and live game reps, especially for a lot of these guys. Because I'm not there, but in these joint practices, are they tackling fully? Are they driving guys?
No. And that's exactly what I was going to say next, Jeff. Exactly. So once again, it's another preseason. It's another set of games where the quarterback doesn't get popped. Yep. Here's my thing. If Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes can play in preseason games, which they both have this preseason, then there is no excuse. Every single player needs to play. It's that simple. If Tom Brady at 612 years old can play in the preseason, there is no excuse for Jalen Hurts, who's 14, to not play.
Yep.
That's it. So I'll play devil's advocate here. So
Do it.
they, of course, I said yes to, but I'll go to the other side of this and say, they want him to play. Okay, now what happens if you have your starters play this third preseason game, and you have Hurts in there, and he goes down with a significant injury? Then you're going to have the side of the people saying, "Why did he even play? He shouldn't even played in the game." Now you're going to have that with anything. I understand that, but there is that aspect of getting your main players hurt.
Scared money doesn't make money.
And exactly. Like you can't play scared. You cannot be afraid to get hit. I coach my younger son. He plays second grade football. We've been all week having joint practices with the third grade team. Okay, it's second grade is their first year of tackle football. And they've been going up against these kids and getting popped. And at one point they put a little, because they wear like blue, so they put on like the brighter blue shirt on the quarterback. Kid who's not even going to be our quarterback. It was just like a kid. And I went, no, hit that kid. So what do we do tonight? We hit. And I said, this is what is, because we have 3 scrimmages this week. We have 3 preseason games on Sunday. And they're like 45 minutes. Again, they're 7 years old. It's not like, come on. But here's my thing. I said to them tonight, you need to feel what it's like to hit, and you need to feel what it's like to get hit. The same comes true for the NFL.
Yeah.
You got to feel what it's like to get hit. And we got to know if you could take it. We just got rid of a quarterback who couldn't take hits. We just did it. I know Jalen Hurts is tougher and he's saying all the right things, but I still need to see him get hit and then get up from the hit. I need to see Brandon Brooks get up from falling down because he has not been able to do that for the last 2 seasons. I don't need another Jason Peters. I need to see these guys get up to make sure that they can. Durability matters.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
all.
I said it.
That's my point.
Being available is what we need. But I think it's the perfect time to wrap it up. But
I agree.
Before we wrap it up, we got a couple announcements, though.
Got some big announcements, friends. So, first off, I want to thank again Rob Maaddi for joining us at the top half of the show. He is always an incredible guest to have on. We appreciate him. There are a lot of really big things happening in the All About the Birds world. And one of those things is we are expanding. All About the Birds is expanding. It has already happened on Twitter. It's going to be happening on the website very shortly. Please follow on Twitter. You can go right now and do it. The all-new AAT Sports Network on Twitter, at AAT Sports _ because sports is what we're all about. We had already been branching into soccer, and we talk baseball and basketball. So we have created a sports network where All About the Birds will still be encompassing the Eagles, but each of these sports now will have a home on AAT Sports Network. And if you are interested, reach out to one of us because we have a long night of programming available, a long week of programming. And in fact, Johnny has a new situation that he would like to talk about with the fantasy world. Johnny, do you want to talk about the new fantasy situation?
Yes. So we're going to be having, it's going to be a YouTube exclusive type of show. It's going to be basically a segmented called Dynasty Decisions. It's with Michael Bauer. You can find him on Twitter at Rewind CEO. So he does Dynasty Rewind. He runs that podcast. Him and a bunch of guys. Great content. He's going to be giving us some, fantasy tidbits throughout basically that week of football and what you saw the week prior. So that's going to be starting up shortly, a little before week 1. So that's going to be on most likely Tuesdays. It'll be released. It'll be on a YouTube exclusive platform. And I will, one of us will post a little highlighted segment of it on the Twitter pages. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because you can't get this content and can't see when it comes available if you're not subscribed. So make sure you do that. And he is checking in to make sure you check it out. So,
And
Definitely.
Speaking of new shows, we have a huge announcement that we are excited to share with all of you. One of a great friends of the All About the Birds / the AAT Sports Network is a former NFL player named Jeremy Bridges. And we've had Jeremy on quite a few times, and he is, I'm going to call it like it is, gentlemen. He's one of the greatest shit talkers I have ever seen. My man can throw down with the best of them. Starting in just a few weeks, we are proud to be airing a brand new show featuring Jeremy Bridges talking about whatever and whoever he wants. It's a late night show because it's coming out from Arizona. So it's, Jeremy Bridges After Dark. Make sure you are tuning into the all-new Burning Bridges show. It is a double entendre because he's going to be burning some bridges. We don't know what the guests are going to be. We don't know what he's going to say. We're not censoring him. It is going to be about as fire as it comes. Burning Bridges coming up in just a few weeks, and there's going to be a big social media push tomorrow so you know what's going on.
And it's going to encompass a lot of the NFL since the NFL is starting up and everything like that. So it's going to be talking NFL. Maybe looking at some highlights, and he's just going to be giving it all. So definitely check it out. And like Chip said, we will definitely give a push tomorrow. We'll have everything out, detailing it so you guys can keep that tuned in and make sure you mark that on your calendars or put it in your reminders in your phone. No one really.
And on top of that, all of our other regular weekly programming. So we have tomorrow night across the pitch our soccer show. So make sure you are checking that out. Friday, Birds, Beers, and BS, a YouTube exclusive with Sir Jeffrey Warner. What you guys going to talk about? You guys are recording on Friday night, or are you going to do it Saturday morning?
We might do Saturday so we can talk and discuss and recap the game. So I have to talk with Peanut, or we might go live and do a little pregame show. So I'll discuss that with Peanut today or tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, and the three of us haven't talked, but there may or may not be a postseason or post-game show on Friday. I would say probably not because I don't know. I can't imagine there's going to be a whole ton to talk about.
No.
But we'll see. If it happens, make sure you tune in. Let's tell you what, turn on your notifications so that if it does happen, you can watch it. Exactly. That's what I would suggest. Subscribe and click on those notifications so that you can watch it. And then Monday night, Chips and Dish. I haven't decided what I'm going to talk about yet, but it probably will include the epic meltdown that the Philadelphia Phillies just had because of Joe Girardi making the same goddamn messed up decision again and again and again and again and again as he pitched Zach Wheeler into the ninth inning. So that was fun. We'll be talking about that. And then we'll be back here Wednesday night. Oh, Wednesday night next week is our big All About the Birds Writers Extravaganza show, right?
Yes, it is. The prediction
It's our big NFL prediction show. So next Wednesday night is a must watch. 9:15 p.m. unless we decide to go earlier because it is going to be such a jam-packed show. We don't know. We like to fly by the seat of our pants here. Let's pay the bills one more time. Did I forget anything, by the way, before we pay the bills?
I think we are all set.
We're all good. So good at this. I'm going to go from the bottom up this time because I like to. So All About the Birds, their newest sponsor is La Terrain Luxury Watches. You got the time for these watches. Let me tell you, they are fire. See that joke there? Use the code AATBIRDS at checkout for 10% off La Terrain Luxury Watches. 99jersey.com. Partner with AATBIRDS. Use the code AATBIRDS20 for a 20% discount at checkout. Of course, the AATBIRDS.com. Shop with all the new fire designs, including some new Burning Bridges swag coming out soon. Excited for that. You can have Jeremy Bridges over your Chestal region. Oddsjam.com. Use their arbitrage calculator to not lose money. And Statement Games, a fun free twist on fantasy sports. And finally, my favorite, Jeff's favorite, Johnny's favorite, my wife's favorite, you know what I'm saying? Manscaped.com is partnered with AATBIRDS. Use the code AATBIRDS for 20% off and free shipping at checkout. Your balls and your women will thank you. My friends, it's been real. It's been fun, but I can't say it's been real fun. Anybody have anything for the good of the order?
No, I think we're pretty good.
Football's almost here, baby.
Football, baby, woo! And there may also be some other big things in the works. We're actually going to get off the air and talk some business behind the scenes. So if we drop another, announcement coming up soon, you heard it, that it could be happening here first. All right, gentlemen, as always, we end every show with
Go Birds.
Go Birds! And here's a commercial about your testicles. Attention, listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston. Do we have a pube problem? If so, Our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS. Ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped that has just taken off in not only the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system. First, scheduled for liftoff, new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your body, balls, butt, and even Uranus. This 4th generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch, can engage a travel lock, and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight you can turn on and off when needed for a more precise shave throughout your travels across the universe. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Don't forget to use Crop Preserver ball deodorant and their Crop Reviver to help your little planets be on their A-game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Abort hairy balls and Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. For a clean trinity and beyond, your Spaceballs will thank you.